Number one is broken access control. I am thrilled to see this move to number one. This is up from the 5th position. 94% of apps have some kind of broken access control. There are 34 common weakness enumerations that map to access control. The biggest problem is indirect object reference. This is where I go to an API and I change the ID and I can see different messages. And the problem is under the hood, they're generating SQL that has no access control built in. So this is a really easy hack. Go to any API in the world that you have legal permission to do so, change the ID. If that gives me access to data that I shouldn't have access to, then we have an access control problem. The security industry calls this indirect object reference. It's just horizontal access control. IDOR makes no sense as a term. I'm sorry, it doesn't. For a developer, I think of this as data-specific access control or horizontal access control, a much better name for this problem. Last, here's how I fix the problem at the database level. I'm saying select data from messages where the ID is the message number and the owner or the recipient must be a user ID, which I get from session or a jot. Now, only the recipient or the sender at the database level is able to read that message. And this is one of many ways I can solve this problem. I can have all kinds of access control designs at higher levels. This is one of many ways to solve it, but this is the biggest problem in access control today. Any pen tester, this becomes an easy way for them to steal data from an application. The other thing is we do a lot of role hard coding in apps. Hard coded roles are ultra weak. This is called a policy enforcement point. It shouldn't be a role because that's the policy. That should be in a database. What you should be doing in code is enforcing by the activity or the feature name. Once you do this, you'll never have to code in the enforcement point again. It implies a centralized, persisted access control store. And we're going to need this for more enterprise or software as a service kind of applications, right? So now I'm just pointing to a pointer that policy represents elsewhere. When I start doing hard-coded roles, if the user is an admin or a manager, that is the policy woven into code, and that's always a bad idea. So other like high-level design principles enforce access control by the activity or feature, not the role. Use roles in the back end. Implement some kind of data contextual access control to solve indirect object references in a generic way, so I don't have to build it from scratch every time as a developer. Your access control for real enterprise software should be centralized in a database of some kind with the filter. So every request must go through your access control layer. I also recommend get denied by default right. If something goes wrong, fail securely, use the right data for access control decisions. Like I've seen cookies with the role. I can edit the cookie, change the role, game over. Make sure your policy is on the back end. And if I change a user's role, like demote them away from an admin, that should take effect immediately. So be careful about access control entitlement caching and have grouping everywhere, grouping of users, data permissions, and so on. Here's the ASVS entry for access control. These requirements represent what I just talked about, but go ahead and review them. ASVS has about a dozen access control requirements. I think we can add a few more. Would love your feedback on that section. So here's a link to the authorization cheat sheet at the cheat sheet series, recent publication. Here's NIST 800-162. This is an American standard. Oh, say, can you see? American standard for access control that you all should read. Even if you don't like American standards, it is exceptional of trying to help the US government move from hard coding roles to more robust access control. A very good read, regardless of where you're from. Also, we got ASVS's access control requirements. That's your homework for this area.